Welcome to Built from Love, the podcast for moms birthing businesses and babies. I'm Erin Pratt, and thank you so much for being here.
Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Built from Love. My name is Erin Pratt, and I will be your host for this podcast series, and I am so deeply honored that you are here. So whether you are folding laundry, sipping lukewarm coffee that's been microwaved countless times, or sneaking off to a quiet corner in your house to listen to this, thank you for lending me your precious time. I built this podcast for the moms who are in the throes of raising young children while simultaneously building young businesses. We face specific challenges as moms who are also business owners, and I'm also on a homeschooling journey, so I'll speak to that through the podcast for those who are choosing to homeschool or home educate their children. I am so excited to share a little bit more about my story and my background and what I hope to achieve with this podcast to support the moms who are in those magical early years of childhood, who are building a life that works with them and building businesses that support their mission and their family life. So first, I want to start with why I named this podcast Built from Love. The name came to me in one of those rare, quiet moments in the house when all was still, and I was reflecting on this next step in my business journey and starting a podcast. And I realized that everything I've built up until this point, the countless businesses I've started, the family that I'm building and raising, the rhythms in our home and our school lives, have all been built from a place of love and heart and intention. I've never subscribed to the thought of let's do it the way everybody else has done it. And I often joke with my husband that I tend to make things harder for myself. Instead of working for someone else, I work for myself. Instead of sending my kids off to school, I'm deciding to homeschool them with no experience in homeschooling whatsoever. But these things are all so worthwhile and worthy of my time, and I am just a lifelong learner. I love to learn and try things that fit into the specific way I want my life to look. And so this podcast is here to help inspire you to build a life that is created from a place of love and heart and potentially goes against the grain of what society has told us is the right way to do things. So this isn't just a business podcast. This isn't just a motherhood podcast. This isn't just a homeschooling podcast. It's going to be a blend of all of these rhythms that we're baking into our lives and a place for creativity to thrive, for our feminine rhythms to take front and center. And when we think about what we're taught about business specifically, the advice is sound, but it doesn't fit into the rhythms of early motherhood or those who are choosing to homeschool their children. So I hope to shed some light on the journey I've taken with my two young girls and another on the way. So I want to share my personal experiences, the lessons I've been learning as I've been building my business, raising my young children, and am now starting on my homeschooling journey. I want to share a little bit more about my story. I am, as I said, a mom of two girls, Sophie, who is almost 5, and Lucy, who is 3. I have another baby girl on the way, due in just a short few weeks, and I love being a mom. So my first baby was born in May 2020, which was right in the thick of COVID, if you remember that crazy time in our lives. I was working full-time for a corporation up in the Virginia area, and we had all been pushed to remote work for about 2 weeks, they thought, which turned into forever. And I was preparing to have my first baby. It was a wild time. It was an uncertain and somewhat scary time. But little Sophie came along and changed my life and changed my perspective. In my heart, I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Ever since graduating college in 2012, I knew that my life path was going to eventually lead me one day to owning my own business and creating a mission that felt really heart-led and important to bettering our planet. I just didn't know what that looks like. So I did the traditional college experience, graduated, and went into a series of corporate jobs in recruiting and marketing. And after having Sophie and the world shutting down, as many of us did, I began to reflect on what I wanted my life to look like and where my priorities were meant to be placed. So through all of this, I had been always running side hustles. I had started a travel blog. I was writing and partnering with companies with my travel blog. I had started a online crystal shop with a cousin of mine, and we were selling and packaging crystals to all over the country. I also got my yoga certification in 2019 from Costa Rica, and I was teaching yoga both online and in person. I was hosting moon circles for women and meditation classes, and really dove into my wellness journey in those years. I just never knew what it would take to move it from being a side hustle to actually replacing a full-time income. So I was just dabbling in email marketing and social media and building websites for all of these businesses that were all leading me closer and closer to the thing that would stick. After we moved from Virginia to Charleston, South Carolina, bought our first house, I quickly gave birth to another baby, Lucy, who was just 16 months after my first baby, Sophie. I was still working corporate at this time, but fully remote. And I remember balancing a toddler of not even 2 and a newborn in a new town where I knew very few people in my first house. My husband was working out of the house at the time. And we were managing on just nanny help, which was a little bit flaky and uncertain at times. I was freshly postpartum, and I was trying to struggle through the balance of working quietly in my room while I heard my girls downstairs with what really was a stranger. And something in my heart just felt like this can't possibly be it. We didn't have the choice for me to just completely quit my job. We had just bought a house based on our 2 incomes. And I just felt really lost at the end of every day. I was crying and couldn't see a way forward. So one day I gathered the strength and the courage to put in my 2 weeks notice and quickly started up a business called Ivy Lynn Studio. I decided to focus on website design, which was a skill I had, but didn't feel like a passion. I was passionate about helping moms. I had started a motherhood collective. I loved wellness, yoga. I wanted to make a blend of all of those things, but it just wasn't paying the bills and I didn't know how to scale that. But I knew I could build websites. And so, new to the Charleston area, new to being an entrepreneur, and new to being a mom of 2, I decided to forego my corporate job and launch Ivy Lynn Studio. Much to my surprise, it took off. It was the right time to do it and the right place to do it. Charleston is full of small business owners, a lot of women who are starting businesses, especially after the COVID pandemic. And I utilized local Facebook groups and just started sharing my story and that I was offering website design services. And my business took off from there. From day one, I started with 4 website clients. And over the following 3 years, I never once wasn't booked to capacity with website clients. In fact, it was starting to scale faster than I could keep up with. So as I was scaling this business, I was working 2 days a week. In that time frame, my parents moved down, started helping me with the girls. And I found that I could figure out a rhythm of what worked for our family between work and raising my children. I loved being free 3 weekdays out of the week to just enjoy my girls, bring them to the beach or the park, be part of their lives, and then having some sacred time 2 days a week to just pour into my business and into my clients. I quickly realized I was very passionate, not just about helping women start up websites for their businesses, but also helping them understand what it takes to build a business on the back end. So I started guiding them on email marketing and funnels and quickly became a coach of sorts to some women. And after I had several requests for coaching, I did create my first course and a virtual coaching program. So I ran it twice with 8 women in each program, and some of which were moms, some of which weren't, but they were all passionate about building businesses that felt fulfilling to them and shared their gifts with the world. So I created this framework for getting started. And I absolutely loved the coaching aspect, and I started to scale back on the website clients. Well, from there, I got pregnant. I had a miscarriage and then got pregnant again. And with each baby, I noticed a shift. With my first baby, it was a shift from corporate working in the office to working remotely and exploring more side hustles. With my second baby, it was taking that leap out of corporate into full-time entrepreneurship. And with my third baby, it is a re-envisioning of what my business is going to look like. My girls are now getting older, with my first going into her kindergarten year this coming school year. My 3-year-old will be 4 soon, and I will have a newborn in tow. So as I begin my home education journey and my life with 3 children, I realized that I needed to restructure what my business looked like. Moving away from the demands of client work, which I recommend is a great place to start when you're in business, but often is not sustainable on your own long term. If you want to scale your business, eventually you'll either need to grow a team to service those clients or find other avenues of revenue that are a bit more passive to supplement the demands of client work. So I reflected on what I want my life and future to look like, and I realized that teaching and educating is one of my superpowers, and I enjoy it. I come from a line of teachers in my family. I have a master's in education. I thought I would be a teacher at one point, and I love to share what I learn along each stage of my journey. And so I am shifting my business to now supporting moms to help them build what I've built and what I'm continuing to build, and share this journey along the way and be vulnerable and authentic about what it takes to raise children, to create alternative lifestyles with education, with travel, and with building businesses that also fill a part of our soul and our purpose and our mission here on this planet. And so we are entering a new era here, and I am starting a podcast at this time. So, with Built from Love, you can expect some really honest conversations, some practical business advice that I've learned not only from building my own businesses, but working with almost 200 other business owners at varying stages of revenue and varying types of businesses. So, Built from Love is here to support moms like me, moms like you, build our businesses that feel aligned with our family rhythms during this unique and fleeting time of raising young children. Businesses that work with your family flow, that work with your feminine rhythms, that don't require the hustle we've heard it takes to start successful businesses, and to even question what the word success looks like in this phase of life. It might look different from what other people deem successful businesses, because you are trying to prioritize your family, your children, and your purpose all simultaneously. So I plan to give you tangible tools and strategies that are here to support you and that don't feel stifling, but actually make your life easier and help you build businesses and family rhythms that are sustainable and soulful and life-giving. I also plan to feature women who have built businesses alongside raising their children, who may be doing things imperfectly or different from what you tend to see online and in our society, but who are raising these beautiful businesses and babies simultaneously in their own creative, loving ways, and to hear what they think of when they think of success. I am so excited for those conversations specifically. And most of all, I want this to feel like a cozy place that you can return to, as if we are two friends sitting down over a cup of hopefully hot coffee and sharing our lessons, our struggles, our challenges, and our successes in this beautiful journey of being a mom and a business owner. So, in future episodes, you can expect topics like how to sell digital products and how to introduce different types of rhythms to help you balance, whatever that means, balance work and family life and homeschooling. I'll talk about my homeschooling journey and what we're learning along the way. I'll talk about marketing strategies I've found that have worked for my business, different types of businesses I recommend building during this phase of life. And I also will share creative rituals and sacred rituals that will help keep you grounded and connected to a sense of spirituality. As I mentioned, I used to host moon circles for women. I wrote a book called Wild Luna, and I'm really passionate about cycle syncing and connecting with the rhythms of nature and our inner feminine wild to help us build lives that are supportive to us, that again might look different from the typical structure of 9 to 5 that was built and designed more for men's hormonal systems, not women's. I'm so excited to share more on these topics, and thank you for being here. Really, starting this new chapter of a podcast felt like a big exhale for me. It's something I've wanted to do for a really long time and just haven't made the space for or taken that leap into, and I'm finally ready. I'm so grateful that you're here at this time listening with me. And I am so excited to share more about this beautiful journey of motherhood and entrepreneurship. So, if this episode resonated with you, please subscribe or share it with a friend who might enjoy these topics and help me spread the word. So, until next time, go dream your biggest dreams and know that everything you're building matters because I know it is built from love. See you next time.